What up, everybody? Now, in 2011, did Impact Wrestling prove to everyone that to them, wrestling matters? Well, I thought I'd answer that very question in my latest video. But before I continue, I wanted to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Festivus, Happy Holidays. Whatever it is you celebrate, I hope you're enjoying them as much as I am. Well, sit back, relax, and enjoy this little review of Impact Wrestling 2011. Now, what I thought I'd do is I looked at the most recent airing of Impact, jotted down some notes, and I thought I'd review 2011 based on the show. Just sit back and relax. Don't worry. You're gonna love it. Now, the show started out with heavyweight champion Bobby Roode and Bully Ray both in the ring, cutting a promo to set up tonight's main event. Now, I will say this, Bully Ray, what a difference a year makes. I feel like he's really stepped up his game. You know, transitioning from tag team wrestler to singles wrestler, it can be kind of a transition. And at first, I wasn't quite sure if they had made the right choice, but as this show aired, I could see that Bully Ray is more than worthy of the push he's been getting. Great mic work, solid in the ring. I've always liked his ring work. You know, the transition was my only concern. And now Bobby Roode, and I'm going to cover a little bit more about Bobby Roode, but he looks the part, he acts the part, talks the talk. He's the heavyweight champion, and I'm really happy to see him there. Now, you know, they're doing their thing. Here comes Jeff Hardy, and I'll cover their matchup towards the end of this review. But yeah, Jeff Hardy comes out, then Sting comes out, now they're going to tag, and I'll cover that in a second. So we get to our first commercial break, where the Direct Auto Insurance commercial airs, probably the second of the two that they have, I think. And Indie-rific comes to mind. I think Indie Company could probably do just as good of a job as they did, which means that they should be doing way better than that. Being creative with the talent that they have, I mean, great use putting it in the ring. I mean, maybe for those that don't know that they're TNA or whatnot, but I don't know, I found it kind of indie-rific. What I didn't find indie-rific was the TNA shop, I guess. I'm not sure, I call it the Knockouts commercial. It's probably the best thing that's happened to the Knockouts division all year. They've got 4 that, you know, they aired that thing 4 times. And I'm not complaining because I love me some Knockouts, but yeah, probably the best thing that's happened to them. Ho, ho, ho. And that's what sprung to mind because they said it constantly, ho, ho, ho. So yeah, then you had your first matchup, Daniels and RVD in a feud, this lethal lottery type tag team concept with guys who are feuding or guys who don't normally tagging up to take on the tag team champions. I like the concept. They took on the team that won, which was Kazarian and Styles, which I felt like, well, you know, I mean, those guys are boys, even if Fortune is no more. My question during that whole thing, and I've enjoyed the RVD Daniels feud, was there was a little segment not too long ago with Kazarian and Tracy Brooks, who I believe are husband and wife, and then you had Jeff and Karen Jarrett, and I wondered what happened to that? Like, what did Kazarian do, or what did Tracy do? I mean, that had some potential to build a guy, and working a top guy in a feud that people probably wouldn't have minded seeing, and I wondered where that went. But anyway, I digress. Then you had Anthony Nese and Zema Ion, or Zema Ion. Yeah. You had hype for both of those. I want to say the build-up for Destination X was really good because you had guys like these getting their opportunity to showcase their talents. And then you got to see some familiar faces, which I'll cover at the end of this. All in all, you know, a good little hype. I like their hype videos, the kind of behind the scenes, before the show kind of thing. I like that. My question is their style, you know, that match in particular, or matches similar to that, the X Division style. Is that what the internet fan wants to see? The only reason I ask is because I'm listening to this crowd in Florida and they don't seem to be enjoying what they're watching. And I don't think it's for lack of excitement. I don't know. You know, I guess my question is, as fans, is that the style that you want to see? I mean, I hear some complaints about WWE style, so is that the style that you want? I'm curious. I'd like to know. You know, I do like me some Madison Rayne, but I could care less about the Knockouts tag team titles. And I don't know why that is. I should care about it. I love me some Knockouts. Madison Rayne on the top of a list. No, I mean, they're all like 1As. All of them. All of them. But no, not all of them, but most of them. I love a lot of them. Madison Rayne in particular. She's nice to look at. But I don't care about the Knockout tag team titles. I don't know. I wish I did. But I don't. Pope Devon promo. This was a feud that they really tried involving Devon's kids. I said beforehand I thought it was a lukewarm thing. But Pope can talk. I give Pope some credit. He wants to be everyone's daddy. Really? You know, do you want to pay all that paternity? You want to be everybody's husband? Like all the women? Are you sure about that? Like man, you're going to be busy. But I like this promo. Like, you know, at least it's starting to get, you know, maybe they'll kill it at Genesis. Maybe. They should move these guys on. Like, you know, Pope should be like in the TV title thing. I mean, if he was going to want to be a mass media type of guy, but I'll get into the TV title thing in a bit. I gotta say, if Madison Rayne is in charge of the Knockouts, I miss me some Karen Jarrett. I thought that was really a breath of fresh air, was to have Karen in that spot, being the executive vice president of the Knockouts. I thought, man, that is solid, because it's good use of her. I thought her and Jeff were pretty dead on. And if it hadn't been for Eric Young, whose segment was before this, they would be the MVPs of TNA, because their segments were always really entertaining. And the feud between him and Jeff and Kurt was probably feud of the year, but I'll cover that in a second. Yeah. Now let me back up. You know, Eric Young, because I wanted to cover this. I felt like he was the MVP of TNA. He was the guy who could turn anything they threw at him and turn it into gold. And I think most of his stuff was pretty cool. As far as, especially his TV title reign, I thought was genius as far as utilizing him outside the box, which I'm a big fan of, turning a TV title into something that you defend every week, and it's always on television, regardless if you're on TV. You know, he made the best of any situation. You know, from that, you know, this pinning Scott Baio to, you know, having Ronnie in his corner against Robbie E and Robbie T, and you know, there you go. But yeah, Tara and Tessmacher, they are probably the reasons I should care about the Knockout Tag Team titles, because TNT is dynamite. Man, both sexy women. Both extremely sexy. Whatever. T-bowing in wrestling. You know, not expecting that. Not expecting that. And there's more than one reference of T-bow, so you know he's transcended sport. All sport now. T-bowing is something to do, but oh yeah. I know I'm jumping around. Next up was Hardy and Sting doing a little backstage promo. I'll cover Hardy in the title picture in a minute. But he does get a really awesome reaction from the crowd, which is saying something. I mean, if they're willing to accept him, then I guess everyone should be willing to accept him. You know, it's been a good story. And we get Sting, which kind of ironic considering what happened, you know, early on this year, main eventing of a pay-per-view, Sting having to be put in that situation, but I don't know, you know, if Sting accepts it. And Sting, you know, the Joker gimmick, I mean, everyone cut him some slack when he did the Crow gimmick, which was in essence, you know, a kind of dated reference. But it was cool because it was Sting. We were all big fans of Sting's. You know, he kind of became something from a movie where an actor passed during the shooting. And now he's the Joker, which I was okay with it because I knew he had to be kind of psychotic. And again, you know, a movie reference a couple of years later. But I was okay with it. I would have been even better with it if he had just always worn that red suit. I really liked the red suit. I mean, he had stepped up his fashion game with that red suit. I thought if he wore that and had the Joker makeup, I'd be okay with it. He's giving him a second chance, so there you go. EY, Eric Young, and ODB tagging. I'm okay with it. I like ODB. She's another person that was sorely missed. So I was glad they brought her back. And if she's teaming up with Eric Young, man, comedy and will ensue, and it'll be gold. I guarantee it. Good push for James Storm. One of their best ideas, aside from the Destination X build-up and the Bound for Glory series. Pushing him from a tag team wrestler to a singles and a top singles guy, and he's a good talker and he's solid in the ring, and the belt looked good on him in spite of the reasoning behind it. So yeah. And with James Storm, you get Kurt Angle. They're feuding, which I like the feud, especially since it looked like it's building James in the process even more, solidifying him as a top guy. And Kurt, comedy gold early on. I miss that Kurt Angle. I do. Singing, wearing a little hat. I find it, I like funny Kurt Angle. Not that I have a problem with what he is now. Please don't hurt me, Kurt. But yeah. So yeah, Shane Moore gets some mic time. You know, he should really go back to the X Division. I think that's where he belongs. Or the TV title. But he belongs in one of those. I could see him doing a pretty good feud with like Austin Aries. Or Robbie. I could see him doing either one. Here's my thing, and I'm just, you know, I'm going to give a little advice here and there to Impact. Bobby Roode should hold that title till Bound for Glory 2012. Uninterrupted. He shouldn't lose it by hook or by crook. Yeah. Given everything, I mean, the Bound for Glory series was awesome. It produced who it needed to be the top guy. The scoring system worked. It made every match mean something. Then they had a little fiasco because Hogan didn't like him as champ, which, whatever. Brother. I mean, Bobby looks the part. He acts the part. He wears a suit. He wears it well. He talks decently, especially as a heel. I've liked the video stuff with him in particular. It feels to me like they're wanting to build it around him, and if that's the case, that's a smart move, him and James and AJ, and build it around your home team and those guys that have been there the longest, and it's their time to shine. Prove to everyone that you're not looking for WWE rejects or guys who get let go or future endeavored even though they need a place to work. Everyone needs a place to work. I'm not disproving their worth. I'm just saying, man, takes y'all some time, but I think if you build your homegrown talent, I mean, that's booking 101. You build your locals. You make them out to be the top guys because they're the ones that are always going to be there. And they've proven that they can carry whatever you give them. That's my little rant. Anarchia, I liked the stable concept of Mexican America with Hernandez. No offense to Hernandez, man, not a great talker, but I don't pay to watch him talk. I pay to watch him throw people around, give him border tosses, and prove he's one of the strongest dudes in wrestling. And Arquilla, if he's got, he's a good mouthpiece to have. And I liked Rosita and Sarita as, I like the whole stable concept. I like Mexican America. And I like the Lethal Lottery concept. I think that's a good concept. Late in the year, another really solid thing. I mean, the Impact had like 4 or 5 things that really worked really well. But here's my... Well, I'll get to that in a second. Crimson and Morgan as tag team champions as the year ends. The Undefeated and the Blueprint. Who would have thought that a guy who's so well spoken, that would be his weakness? That you find it hard and difficult to believe him even though he is so well spoken. Like, I don't imagine him being angry ever. And Crimson, a guy they pushed and wanted to make him this undefeated phenom, I guess. And this is a good way to keep him undefeated, at least for the interim. And if you've got nothing better to do with guys, and with this Lethal Lottery concept, maybe you'll get some teams and get some feuds and build something and make the tag team titles what they should be, which is what sets Impact apart from other wrestling companies, or at least other mainstream wrestling companies. Morgan will challenge anybody. Everyone. So my question is, who's going to tag with me? Who would tag with Steve DeMarco and go and face the 2 monsters? Who? Because I ain't scared of him. I ain't. Let's see. Kurt, one-man bar fight. Didn't realize he could throw super kicks in succession. And I like this Kurt Angle as well. I like both. I like the comedy and the ass kicker. I like them both. And I like that feud. He was, Kurt was on one of the best feuds of the year. Not that it translated to me buying any pay-per-views. I'll cover that in a second. But, as we wrapped up the show, the only other thing I could think, that I saw that really stood out was Sting still doing planches. After all this time, he's still doing planches. My only question was, why have a street fight as your main event? What would be... Why? You couldn't just do a regular wrestling match. Isn't it special enough that you had Sting and Hardy teaming for the first, one of the first times? Or the fact that they're just teaming, that should be special. I guess, my main thing is what a difference a year makes as I close this little out as far as the review. I mean, no Hogan. Big face turn. Didn't see it. Didn't watch the pay-per-view. Even though they did the best job of hyping Bound for Glory, and it had me thinking, because of the Bound for Glory series, all this build-up, I liked it, but I was concerned because TNA had a big problem of building their pay-per-views. And I'm going to cover into how you can fix that probably. But no Hogan, no Flair, no Bischoff, at least for this episode. No Karen or Jeff, and no Matt Hardy. No Ronnie E, but he's the TV champion. See, I have a problem with that. If you're the TV champion, and that's what you're calling the belt, why not make it so that he's defending it every week? Or he's at least there every week. Same thing for Austin Aries. Like, one of the better talkers. Again, like I said, him as champ, I like it. The greatest man that ever lived. I love his mic work, love his in-ring ability. Again, the build-up for Destination X was solid with he had so many new faces and it seemed to matter, and then you got like Sorensen, really catching fire, and Kid Cash coming back. And I've heard this WWE thing, the WWE style, and I don't know. I'm not one of those, I like the style. I've got to like the style. But no, I do like the style if it tells a story. And who cares if Cash doesn't do what he used to do? He doesn't have to. He's Kid Cash. No Motor City, no Young Bucks. Jeff Hardy's sober. Good thing. Gail Kim, she went on the show. Again, I want to care about the Knockouts division. I should have. Mickie James and Winter and Angelina Love. She's a zombie at first, or being drugged, and then she's not. And at first she saw Winter and she was the only one. And then Velvet Sky complained about being bullied, even though, what? Didn't you used to bully people on the show? But you want people to be upset if you get bullied? Why? She became like the face of the Knockouts. I wanted to care because I like me some Velvet Sky. I like me some Mickie James. I like me some Gail Kim. I like me some, you know what? I like the whole Knockouts division. Another note, work on execution. Sometimes the execution's lacking. Seriously lacking. Now, as far as what they could do for 2012, I would build for James Storm, Bobby Roode for the Impact Heavyweight title for Bound for Glory 2012. That would be my building. That's what I would do. I would build that. I would also build Austin Aries having not only the X Division but the TV title, like he somehow combined them into this title that has the world talking, because he wants to be on every show and prove that he's the most phenomenal guy out there. And he's facing a guy like Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe has recommitted himself to wrestling. And not so much recommitted himself that he's not committed, but that's the storyline. And he's building himself up to what he was when he first debuted. Screw, you know, this, that, and the other. I'm going to become what I was. And in the meantime, you got Austin Aries just running. Same thing with Bobby Roode, by hook or by crook, and James Storm is chasing him, and the people want to see it, and they want to pay to see it. Which brings me to, well, the pay-per-views. I don't like the idea of having matches not announced prior to the pay-per-view and just putting them out there for the sake of putting them out there. Like, you know, if you want to take a page out of ECW's book where guys who weren't on the pay-per-view would say, why am I not on the pay-per-view? I should be on the pay-per-view because this, that, and the other. Somebody else's music plays. Here comes somebody else. Oh my God. And then, you create this sense of the pay-per-views are an important reason to be there. If you're not going to do the kind of build for pay-per-views like you do for Bound for Glory. You know, nothing sucks more than to hear from people that it's a throwaway pay-per-view. Why am I going to throw away my money? More importantly, why am I going to waste my time watching it? Especially if I come on YouTube and I hear people saying how bad the pay-per-views were. You don't have the luxury of not putting on good product. You just don't. Even though your ratings are the same, and they've been the same, regardless of who you bring in. So it's like, use the talent that you've got. But I would try to make the pay-per-views mean something. The fact that you're on pay-per-view should mean something. Guys should be envious of not being on the pay-per-view. And that would give them more time, and you'd make the matches make more sense and mean something. And at the same time, your TV product can start building your pay-per-view. I don't think it should work the other way around. Because then why are people buying it if they just can see good stuff on TV? They have no reason to buy it. They have no reason to even watch it, because you're going to talk about it coming out of it. And I'm not saying that TNA's the only ones that do this, but it's really apparent with them. Now, as far as Jeff Hardy, as we close the year, Jeff Hardy, I'm a big fan of Jeff. I used to be a big fan of his when I was just watching the product. Him and Matt, I like the Hardy Boys. So I have no problem with Jeff. And I have no problem with someone getting a second, third, fourth, fifth chance in this business. If you make companies money, there you go. However, and I liked what they did when they first brought him back. Again, I didn't have a problem with Jeff as a heel. I thought his mic work and the video stuff worked. I thought he was getting great heat. I didn't have a problem with him making a new belt. I know a lot of people did, but again, if you're the champion, and given that Immortal had backed him and Immortal was in power, and this guy wants to make his own belt, and if John Cena can make a spinner belt, or Stone Cold can make a smoking skull belt, then Jeff Hardy can make any belt he wants. And If it's getting heat or getting a negative reaction, that's what it should be doing. I didn't have a problem with it. I did have a problem with him coming to work unable to perform. I don't care if he's under the influence. I mean, that's not for me to judge. But if you can't perform, physically and mentally can't perform, then there's a problem. And I had a big problem with it. I didn't watch the pay-per-view, but I heard about it. You know, if I was at Wrestling Company, I'd have serious problems. And then all the legal stuff that he went through and that he's still potentially going through. And then you put him in this spot, and again, he gets quite the reaction, so I'm not going to fault them for that. It's proof when I watch him, you know, the reaction he gets. The merchandise he can sell. But I think he could do that whether he's opening the show or ending the show. I think he'd get the same reaction. He's one of those guys. He doesn't need the title. But if you need someone to chase, okay, as long as he's putting over Bobby Roode. I think Bobby Roode's the champion, and he's going to be what drives the company, and he needs to be. And everyone else that's chasing it and other champions need to be that as well. And prove to everyone and all the naysayers that a guy like Bobby should be the top guy. And again, if Jeff is there to put Bobby over, then I don't have a problem with it. Not that I'd say I have a problem with it otherwise. Now look, here's the thing. I watch the shows. A lot of the year I spent fast forwarding, which is a problem. Fast forwarding. Whether it's a bad promo, bad action, bad execution, I'm not lost in the story. You gotta stop that. This right there, it's not my problem. You have to stop me from doing this. And how you do it? Well, you make compelling stories. You give me compelling guys. I didn't fast forward this last episode. And their stuff has improved since the change. You know, Vince Russo stepping down and whatnot. And Pritchard getting the opportunity. I mean, he's got that WWE mindset, which means that it's going to be properly executed, hopefully, or he's going to force them to execute. Execution's key for me, telling a good story, and more importantly, making me so entertained that I'm not going to want to leave. So, I know this ran a little long. I appreciate everybody's time. Next video will cover WWE. Probably do it kind of the same way. If you have questions or comments or concerns, feel free to hit me up. I always value some criticism as long as it's constructive.